Greetings from the Minnesota Catholic Conference. I'm Ryan Hamilton, Government Relations Associate for the Minnesota Catholic Conference. And we're still in Hibbing, Minnesota. And I've caught up with Julie Sandstede. Julie's running for Minnesota House of Representatives for District 7A. And so we'll just jump right in and start by getting to know our candidate. It's our next installment on our Faithful Citizenship Tour. What motivated you to pursue this line of service? Why are you running for state legislature?
So when I ran for office 6 years ago, it was my first term. We had always had such strong representation on the Iron Range. I really felt called to get into the conversation, and getting into the conversation meant jumping into the race. I never saw myself necessarily as being in office, but I've always been an advocate for people. I have a heart to serve people. And when the position opened, I kept thinking to myself, who is going to be our voice? Who is going to represent our region? Who knows the people? Who knows the issues? And I felt very compelled to run, very strong about that, thinking I was going to bring a voice to the conversation, not knowing if I would win, not necessarily at that time. It was just most important that I was obedient to what I felt I was being called to do, and that was to step in and be part of the conversation. So I went on to win the primary, went on to win the general election, and I have served 3 terms. And I believe government is here for people. It can benefit people's lives in big ways and small ways. And that's what I'm here to do, just to continue serving the people of this region and the district.
Thanks. So we understand that door knocking is a big part of campaigning for this type of elected office. What are you hearing from the voters at the doors, and how does that align with what you hope to accomplish as a member of the legislature?
I hear a lot of, I hear about divisiveness and how people are turned off from politics. That's the number one thing I'm hearing. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to engage in it, oftentimes because it's been divisive rather than civil. The other thing that I hear at the doors is about our economy. People are concerned about the high cost of food. They are concerned about the high cost of childcare, health care, prescriptions. We have a very aging community up here. And those are all areas that we can improve upon and make strides in.
Great. So unlike many advocacy groups that you'll run into at the Capitol, the Catholic Church's voice does not fit neatly into political distinctions. We do not speak as Democrats. We do not speak as Republicans. We are not a single issue advocacy group. We do speak out on a broad variety of topics that are considered by lawmakers in St. Paul. And as you know, as an incumbent, if elected, you will be re-entering a highly partisan environment. How do you plan to overcome partisanship in the policymaking process?
Exactly the way I've been doing it for the last 6 years. I have developed relationships across the aisle. I have been able to get legislation passed both in the minority and in the majority because it is not about partisanship. It is about the issue at stake. It is about serving the people in the community. And when you focus on the issue, when you focus on the people and not about the win or the lose of the politics, the chess match, you're able to get far more done. I've been very respected down at the state as being a common sense leader with a very moderate approach, and just a let's get things done. What is it going to take to get things done? And being able to assess, we can't get it all done maybe, depending on the issue. Maybe we can't get the whole thing taken care of this year, but what bite of the apple can we take and can we accomplish? We do that by staying focused. We do that by working together. We work that in a bipartisan fashion. That's what I've done. That's what I'm going to continue to do.
Great. Well, thanks for giving us that insight about your why and your how and how you want to serve. Let's get into some Q&A about specific policy issues that are top of mind for Minnesota Catholics.
Yes.
Beginning with the family. So according to the social doctrine of the church, the family is the foundational building block of society. This runs contrast to modern society, which often prioritizes the individual. Child rearing has never been easy or cheap and has only become more arduous as the cost of living, things like transportation, consumer goods, healthcare, housing, have all skyrocketed. And there seems to be a growing perception that marriage and parenthood are mere lifestyle choices rather than fundamental vocations. And these perceptions are substantiated by the numbers, steady declines in marriage rates and family formation amongst the middle and working classes. What are some strategies that we can employ to elevate the status of the family, just big picture strategies on the society level, elevate the status of family in our politics, our media, and our culture. How can society better support parents in their roles and responsibilities?
I could not agree with that statement more. The family is the hub of our lives and of our communities. We need to really look at the family structure as I believe God intended it to be. And it doesn't matter there if you're a Democrat or a Republican, but I do think there's an absolute design on what that should look like. And we should celebrate that. We should not be ashamed to celebrate that. And today's families, many families look very different. I'm a teacher, an educator. I work with thousands of families, and some of those are the nuclear families, and some families look very different. But we need to understand that for especially our youth to strive, to thrive, to benefit, to do well, we need to support them in their families. So working families, and most families are working families now, we need to make sure they have good paying jobs. We need to make sure they have the benefits they need. Our region needs daycare. We need childcare that's affordable. We don't have enough affordable childcare. I'm a grandparent myself, and my teen daughter, struggles to find daycare. So like many other families, we are stepping in and helping out there. We need to understand that those are things that communities need. We need to work to fill those needs within each of our communities across the state of Minnesota. Healthcare is very important. The cost of prescriptions are very expensive. We need to be doing those small things, not small things, but take steps, whatever steps we can, to make that more affordable. Education is critical. As an educator, I think being able to really support our families as they see is the best fit for them. We know not all students are the same. We need to support them, and sometimes it's private school. I'm a graduate of the Assumption School, and I marvel at how it's changed here. Sometimes it's a public school, sometimes it's pre-K, sometimes it's not. Sometimes your child is able to stay home. So we need to look at those situations and support them, and we can do that through our committees that we have. We can do that through our Health and Human Services. We can do that through our education committees. We can do that through our labor and economic development committees. So we have plenty of opportunity, and there's many ways to address that. But the family is hub and number one. I think that we can keep our eye on the family and celebrate what we have.
So my follow-up on family is what specifically can the legislature do to play a role in creating the economic conditions for families, particularly those with minor children? You've kind of touched on those, but is there anything else you want to add?
Well, one thing that I would say, and this is the educator coming out in me right now, we're seeing a lot of mental health issues in our youth and across the Iron Range. And I think we need to be in a position to be able to address those. We need more services up here in terms of accessibility to mental health workers. The Iron Range as a whole, and I'm speaking, to this district, we have issues with chemical and alcohol addiction. And if we could have services for those people, a place to go, we could help them heal and get them back on track. That would be a great way to support our families. We need jobs. We need more than just minimum wage jobs. We need good paying jobs with benefits, so families can have one person maybe going to work instead of dual income families, and staying home and being with their children. Children, more than anything, need a parent. That's what they need. They need attention. They need time with a parent.
Thank you. So in conjunction with advocating for policies that promote family formation, the bishops are actively opposed to the legalization, normalization, and commercialization of vice and substances that have been proven to undermine the family unit. Would you support or oppose legalizing online sports gambling in Minnesota?
I've opposed it, and I would. I just got done talking about addiction issues here on the range. Gambling is going to be more of a problem than any kind of a benefit. So I think we need to take care of what issues we have before we start creating more.
And along the same lines, and to be specific, would you support or oppose the legalization and commercialization of recreational marijuana in Minnesota?
Recreational marijuana I do not support, and I have voted against it. My vote record stands on that as well. Medical cannabis is something that I would look at expansion of when it's very regulated and there's a specific purpose for it. But that is a different use than recreational. So I oppose recreational. I would support medical.
So now we're going to move into supporting motherhood and women's health in the post-Roe world. Catholics hold that life is sacred from conception until natural death, and that people at every stage of life, even those in the womb, should be respected, protected, and loved. Given that, the overturning of Roe versus Wade is not the end, it's just the beginning. Abortion is still legal here in Minnesota. And now more than ever, Catholics believe we need to create a policy environment where babies are respected in law and where women are not led to believe that abortion is their only option.
Amen.
How do you think we can best support mothers before, during, and after childbirth?
I love that question. First of all, we need to keep talking about the value of life. Every life matters, and that is from conception to death and natural death. I am very proud of some of the opportunities that we have here on the range. I think we can continue to support our family life care centers, which have changed names, but are those pregnancy centers. It's been pregnancy centers. I've been part of that. About 10 years ago, I was on the board of that. We need to support that. Here we have maternity homes. Those are important things that we have seen across the nation that can be very, very beneficial. We need to keep supporting those. We need to keep talking to women. Honestly, one of the things that we should do from the get-go is have contraception available to women as part of our health care, and hopefully prevent unwanted or unplanned pregnancies. However, that is going to happen. Pregnancies will happen regardless, and when that happens, we need to value that life, and we need to support those mothers, and we need to let them know there are other options. I myself have adopted 2 of my 3 children. Adoption is a wonderful option for families. There are so many families looking to adopt that cannot necessarily adopt because it is cost prohibitive. 10, 15 years ago, when we were going through the process, it was over $40,000 to adopt a child, which we couldn't do. We ended up going through the county, which worked with us, so we can partner with our county agencies on that. Women need to know there are options if that's their choice. However, if they choose to keep their child, they need to know that they have options too. They need to have supports, financial supports, spiritual supports, moral supports. The church can step in on that. I would love to mentor mothers, to mentor young mothers, just to be there as support. We also need to let them know this is not a terminal diagnosis. This is a life. And again, my own daughter, a teen mother, unplanned pregnancy. It's very concerning as a parent to see your child go through that, but we could not have imagined the blessings that have come as a result of letting that pregnancy go to term and supporting her and helping her through the pregnancy. And we have a beautiful, beautiful, thriving granddaughter. Not every young mom has the support system that my daughter did, but we need to be telling people and creating a support system for those women, whether they choose to keep the pregnancy or choose to keep the child themselves or place it for adoption. There need to be options. And if we spoke about pregnancy in a way that was like, this is not the end of your life. This is not, it will change a life, but it will not be a bad thing, that this can be a good thing. And our society hasn't done that as well as I think we can. We've been very quick to say, oh, this is going to be hard. This is going to be expensive. There isn't the support system. And so, in my opinion, abortion has been used more as a birth control method than maybe in rare cases of rape or incest or the life of the mother. And that's a horror. That's a horror as far as I'm concerned. We need to be creating environments where children are welcome and women are supported, and it can begin in healthcare, preventing it if they don't want to be pregnant, but should they end up pregnant, helping them through those 9 months, and then finding a good fit for that baby so they can thrive moving forward, and the mother can thrive and not have to struggle.
Thank you. Moving to the other end of life's continuum, natural death. So we live in an age where highly advanced medical knowledge has enabled us to significantly extend life. At the same time, that progress has enabled a throwaway culture, things such as the legalization of physician-assisted suicide, which devalues people who most deserve our compassion, thinking of those with disabilities, the elderly, and low-income individuals. For Catholics, physician-assisted suicide is contrary to the dignity of the human person. Legalization of physician-assisted suicide unnaturally hastens death when it is thought that the person's life no longer has meaning or purpose. Would you consider supporting our efforts to prioritize compassionate alternatives to physician-assisted suicide, such as hospice and palliative care, and help us enact policies that promote accessible and holistic, dignified end-of-life care?
So my answer to that is absolutely, absolutely. We have one life. I believe life is valuable, life is precious, and we are not the authors of its beginning or end. And having taken care of my own mother, who was terminal, and seeing her through to the end, I saw how ugly sometimes the end can be. And it isn't easy, but when done correctly, there are so many things that can be done as far as palliative care, supports, hospice, pain management has improved significantly. And again, ultimately, I believe we are not the author of the beginning or the end of our life. And for us to insert ourselves into that out of a false umbrella of compassion is wrong. Humans make mistakes. Diagnoses can sometimes be wrong. And we never know the greater good that will come by walking through a process to its natural end rather than expediting it or trying to create a particular path.
Great. So we're at our final question, education. Many children in low-income families are trapped in underperforming schools, as families are not able to afford to choose a school that best meets their their child's needs. What do you think about the idea or the principle that all parents should be given a choice to send their children to whatever school meets their family's needs, and that educational resources, our tax dollars, should follow the students rather than bureaucratic systems?
So that's a great question, and I'm a public school teacher. We already as parents have the right, the option to put our children in whatever setting we want. Now, the dollars are a different piece of that, and some can afford and some can't afford. Some schools have scholarship programs making it affordable, others don't. I do believe that public tax dollars should be used to educate the public schools primarily. I do think that we could be doing some benefits, some tax credits, some tax benefits to families who have children in private schools. And if, and I want to go back to the if we really believe that our public schools are failing, then we need to talk about the why that is happening. Is it just a systemic approach? Is it graduation requirements? Is it MCA? Is it federal requirements that are coming down? Because I know as an educator myself, there's no teacher going into a public school classroom and intending to say, I can't work with this student, and that student, is just too difficult and their needs are too significant. It is our role. We are required to meet the student where they're at, and students coming into our classroom are coming into our classroom all over the board, from ability level to mental health level to physical health levels, and it doesn't matter what comes in, we have to deal with that. So sometimes a public school is going to be the best fit, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes a smaller setting, a private setting is going to be better. And for families that make that choice, there should be some kind of a benefit, some kind of an offset that we can do. Whether it's tuition costs, whether it's supplies, whether it's a flat fee, there should be a benefit.
So thank you for a great conversation. I've been here with Julie Sandstede, running for Minnesota House District 7A. Thanks for visiting us today and for your candor
Thank
and
you
for your information.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity.